So let's call the Woodbury Select Board to a meeting to order for Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have one. I would like to just fill the select board in on an incident that happened on Green Up Day with the dropping off of a number of tires. And what, kind of get an idea of what you would like the Conservation Commission or the select board to do about that.
Okay.
It could go under in the road commissioner's report at the end if you'd like, because I know Paul Council has talked to Alfie about it, and I've talked to Alfie about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that right in the road commissioner's report. You'll remind me, Michael?
I will.
Thank you.
I'll remind myself.
All right, if there's no other adjustments to the agenda, we will go on to talk about the minutes from the May 27th meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Any discussion?
Previously circulated.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from May 27th, 2025, please say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously and the minutes are approved. All right. Thanks, Diana. And so public comment. Looks like we've got John. I think you are on.
I'm already.
You're on already. Mr. Reed, I believe you are on here as well. And yes, sir.
My name's Tim Perry. I live at 592 Cabot Road. In March of this year, we had a big rainstorm, and the culvert above our house froze up and washed all the gravel down and plugged our culvert. And the road crew came and dug it out. Can I show you this?
Oh yeah, of course.
And crushed the end of our culvert. The water no longer goes through it, it goes under it now. Alfie told me at that time he would come back in the spring and fix it. I guess we didn't elaborate what fix meant. He came by, I think 3 weeks ago, and told my wife if we wanted a new culvert, we have to buy our own. And he would install it. And I don't really feel it's my responsibility to buy the culvert when they wrecked it.
So they wrecked it? How do you mean they?
We came in with an excavator and dug all the silt and gravel that came down the hill out. And
Yeah.
they crushed the end of the culvert.
Oh.
All right. Well, I think it's all right. We will get back to you. We'll talk to Alfie about it and let you know. We weren't aware, I don't think any of us were aware that there was damage done by the town to your culvert. We was under the assumption that the culvert was old, maybe needed to be replaced, and
It was working fine last
yeah.
fall.
But thanks for bringing it to us. And we'll go ahead.
2023, when we had a big flood, my neighbor gave me a culvert so I could get out of my driveway after 2 days.
Yeah.
And Alfred drove by while we were putting it in and said, "This is my neighbor's culvert, when you come fix it, just put it over across the road for him." Well, BJ King came the next day and dug it up, and the culvert disappeared, and when asked, Alfred said they broke it or destroyed it, so
Okay.
we never
Right.
saw it again. But
All right.
Was it usable?
oh, we never saw it. It was
Uh-oh.
brand new when we put it in.
Yeah, we had a lot of wrecked culverts around that time.
Yeah.
In the yard. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for the information.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll make sure. Is Karen your wife? No. Is that a different
That's neighbor.
neighbor? Okay. So
Oh, so you're in Cabot Road? I thought you said.
okay.
592 Cabot Road.
Oh, I thought you said East Hill. I don't know.
Yeah. And can I get your name and number again?
Tim Perry.
Tim Perry. Thanks, Tim.
Could you spell your last name, Tim?
Perry.
I just want to make sure I have it right.
And
So
it's-
what would be the best way for us to contact you? Phone call or email?
Phone
Okay.
Yeah.
472-7036.
7036.
All right, thanks, Tim. Yeah, actually, this is the first, I think this case is the first we've heard about it, so appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah, we recently discussed what to do in similar cases if people had a driveway culvert that wasn't working anymore and needed to be replaced, that we would work with them to pay, if they would pay the $300 or whatever for the culvert, and the town would put it in. It's a pretty good deal, but not always. Yeah.
all right, when we get back, we'll get in touch with you.
Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, thank you. All right. I wonder if, we'll ask Alfie when he gets here. All right. If there's no other public comment, I guess we will move on to the town clerk's report.
I have been working slowly, doing my 4 hours a day. I go back to the doctor's tomorrow, hopefully they will get me off from that, but we'll see. I received from Natural Resources your next flood authorization. That's effective as of June 5th, 2025. And it looks like it's for Lake one here.
What does that mean, Robin? What is a flood authorization?
What's this one here? I did for you so it's not back to back.
Oh, this is the one from Jason, from Jaren.
Oh, yeah, this,
We got this already, yeah.
yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Right here, the applicant, Robin Herkey. This is just one of,
This is the permit to clear the stream in the village, basically.
This is basically just a permit to work in the stream. right?
Yeah, we had a permit last year that ran out at the end of the year, and this was one of the sites the Jern board visited last week. And it's basically, he just extended the permit every year.
Got it.
So, and the road crew plans to get to it this summer.
so I was a little concerned when I saw this bold part. Contractor provides stream survey, structural shop drawings, and or dewatering flow control plan. Okay. And then the next one says applicant, contractor, and RME hold a pre-construction meeting prior to commencing work in the stream. Is that just common language that they put in everything? You shouldn't need a designer or engineer for that project, you think?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, well.
What is a RME? Oh, there it is, River Management Engineer.
Yeah, and that's what Jern board
Got it.
is.
That's him, okay.
So he basically just wants to meet with the contractor before,
Right.
but in this case, the contractor is Alfie?
Yeah, and technically, so he's already met with, we
Yeah.
could talk more. I wasn't able to be at that meeting,
Yeah.
site visit meeting last Thursday.
Oh, you missed,
I was dealing with my father.
yeah.
And so Alfie can fill you in more about it, and here he is, so.
Meeting with Jared Borg?
So, and basically talking about the stream in the village, and that's the permit, and then Diane had a question about the language in there about a contractor and a pre-work meeting. I don't know if,
Under E and F, it talks about structural shop drawings, flow control
I think it's
plan.
just boilerplate.
I wonder why I was even bolded. because-
Yeah, we don't have a contractor, we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah, and he was okay with that?
Oh, yeah,
He knew that when you had the site visit, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I told him we were doing it ourselves and that essentially he's just renewing the permit that we already had from last year,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So the granite blocks that are there, they gonna be put back along the riverbed?
No,
no.
Those are concrete blocks, yeah,
Well, there's some concrete blocks, is that what you're
Yeah.
referring to?
yeah.
I'll do whatever you want with them, I don't care. I can use them in other culverts projects.
I just wondered if they were going over to town to garage to be reused.
They will be reused, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, unless the rightful owner, which I assume is the people that own that house, who is now FEMA.
There will be
want
soon.
that,
Yeah,
but, yes, I can reuse them, they're not gonna be, if you take them out of there, they will be reused, because they still have.
Yeah.
so beyond those that you can see here, there are probably others, right? In that bank that he had built up,
Yeah, there's a whole row of them.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
a double roll of them.
You're taking those too?
Probably, I think we might as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
We're gonna put new stone in.
Right.
In order to match what the state. did.
Right.
We wanna be the same all the way up through.
right, yeah.
Can I ask a question? Is this stuff we will touch on during either your portion of the meeting or?
Yeah, we will touch on it. If you want to go over the Jarenborg's report for the different, this is one of the mitigation projects that
Yeah.
left over FEMA money.
I mostly, and just like in terms of flow of the meeting, like
Right. Oh, I
Robin's,
understand. Yeah, that makes
it's
sense.
Robin's
Yeah.
meeting.
He threw us
portion.
off here.
So I was,
Sorry.
I was gonna go back there and we can revisit this if that's okay.
Every time.
All right.
Okay,
I thought we were in the road stuff pretty early. I very seldom walk into.
Just waiting for you.
conversation.
Yeah.
Town of Callis got in touch with us.
Okay.
And they would like to know if there's any way we can work together on becoming more efficient, financially efficient, like buying culverts. If the two towns go together and buy culverts, will we get a cheaper rate on the culverts?
All right. So it sounds like it's probably makes sense to set up a meeting with probably Kari or the two select boards together, or is that what they're asking? Did they ask for something like to that effect?
Says the select board is working on meeting with some of the neighboring towns, town officials.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll call Kari if that's what you guys would like me to do.
Please.
yeah, fine.
Okay. Great.
And another thing they have in here is sharing a health officer, a town constable.
I like the idea of sharing that. I think that's a brilliant idea.
It can be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it can be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah, maybe our constable would like more excitement in his life.
I used to work with a Callis health officer when I was the
He was
default,
good, yeah.
health officer being the select board chair, and he was very helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still doing it.
No, he retired.
He retired.
Oh, he did? Oh,
Yep.
Too bad.
have they got
But,
one?
yeah, it was nice to have.
I'm
I'm not sure if they have replaced Jay or not.
Okay.
They're looking, I think.
The
Oh,
They're still looking, last I knew, I'd seen an advertisement that they were looking for somebody.
Chris, you could do 2 times.
yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be really good. I actually spoke to Kari today, and this, I don't know if this is it's just a quick aside, but he mentioned that they are having trouble with people dumping on Sand Hill in the Callis portion of Sand Hill, and that the Central Vermont Lily turned me on to talking to these folks at Callis, but they have a new position at the Central Vermont Solid Waste District who is half part investigator, part enforcement of public dumping.
Oh.
So could be a resource for us.
Are we talking about
Yeah.
trash dumping or like?
In this case that they used them for was for dumping trash over the bank
Okay.
on Sand Hill. I did mention our situation,
Yeah.
and that wasn't like the reason that they were investigating it.
That's good.
Yeah. So sorry to hijack your report again.
That's okay.
All right.
well, Lily, you said that you were told that that position was also gonna maybe involve some money? The solid waste district was going some grants to towns to help with,
Yeah, I think it was in the Callis minutes that I was viewing. If it's considered a public health issue and the owners do not have the financial means. There's upwards of $2,000 grant to help clean up.
Too bad we don't have someone to go to their meetings and learn about all this cool stuff. Nobody's raising their hands. Oh well.
And that's it, Robin? All right, thank you. And Lily?
Awesome. All right, so the treasurer's report looks a little bit bigger today. We have been working on creating a report that's a little bit more user-friendly. So I included both the reports that we're used to and this new report, just so you guys kind of have a broad spectrum. All right, cool, let's start off. So income over the last 2 weeks, the total cash receipts is $6,884.92. Majority of this is delinquent tax at $4,481. And the remaining majority is records, land recordings, and prepaid tax at $2,403.70. Our total expenses for payroll is $8,233.99. AP, we've had a smaller 2 weeks, these past 2 weeks. I feel like we're used to bigger numbers, but we're at $11,394.33. We have one transfer from our MMA to our checking, or two, totaling $1,500. Mostly to keep our checking account above balance in regards to accounts payable and payroll coming through. Other updates, we received $27,000 for GA0476. Michael Gray, remind me, what road is that?
That's County Road.
County Road?
Yep.
So we received that grant money this past week. Quickly, I'll go over our new reports. So the first one, if I have my notes on this. The first one you're looking at is a statement balance report. This is still a work in progress. John has been very helpful in creating these. Essentially what you're seeing is our total available balances per fund. It's going to be on the right. And our cash assets on the left. It said still a work in progress. The information is accurate, but just trying to come up with the best way to make it intuitive. On the back side of the page, you'll see what looks very similar to our usual comparative budget report with some changes. You'll see in the gray column is any variance of $10,000 or more. That's usually pretty standard when we're looking at budget variances. Anything in parentheses is something that we need to pay attention to. This is a little counterintuitive in regards to regular accounting. Usually anything in parentheses indicates a negative. That's not necessarily the case in this report. Just that we're looking at something that we need to pay attention to.
Okay.
Perfect. And then I'll move on to our shortfall that was mentioned last meeting. I've got some handouts. Sorry, I've also got the sand contracts in here. There we go. So at a previous, here's the for you guys. At a previous select board meeting, I had mentioned that there was going to be a potential deficit going into the next fiscal year. And so we started digging on that, seeing where it came from, what caused it, and this is kind of the overview of what we found. So at the end of May, we found that the general fund had an unfavorable variance of about 231K. Gonna round up here just so it's easier for everyone to digest. The unfavorable variance, it was shown in the town's report, and it hasn't changed too much since January. So what we're looking at is a total revenue of 501K with an actual of 216K as of the town report. So what we're looking at here is much more of a shortfall in revenue and not necessarily only an increase in expenditures than what we have been planning. Also, as of May, our general fund balance or available balance was about 39K, a little under 40K, which is what caused the initial concern of making sure that we would have enough money to get us to next tax season. Where am I? So, a couple of reasons that could be causing this variance. The first one is that we did see or catch a 75K discrepancy. It was in the town report as well. That was in the highway fund that appears it may belong to the general fund. This is something I'd love to talk to the select board about kind of at the end of this overview. And also that the tax rate was maybe set a little bit lower than what we needed.
Sorry to interrupt, but can you tell me what the municipal tax rate was for this year, for the taxes that are being collected now?
The taxes that are being collected in what we're gonna be starting in
The bills
August?
that were sent out in August.
Okay, that's, from the previous year, it's .586.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But that's the previous year. Okay, nice.
Do you want for what we're projecting our next tax rate is going to be?
No,
Okay.
I just wondered how we set the tax rate, but, okay. I was shuffling through a lot of papers today, and I came up with that, not knowing what we ended up with. Okay.
We're also seeing an increase in expenditures in the general fund. This is about 56K as of this report. And projecting into June, we're going to be a little bit over 60K as we're reaching into the new year. So moving forward, we potentially could return, if that is the case, the 75K to the general fund. This will reduce the variance and bring that 40K that we were left with in the general fund up to 115K, which is much more helpful to get us through the summer months into the next tax season. And we also will need to discuss setting a higher tax rate than what we had anticipated in the town report. This is something that we're gonna dive deeper into and discuss over the next couple of
Yeah,
months.
we almost always do, so don't feel bad about that. It's a long time between January and August.
Oh, yes. And then also I'll be working on these reports, making sure that the select board really truly understands these reports and they're easily digestible for everyone in the room and the residents as well to understand. Any questions before I ask a couple questions about the 75K?
Probably, but it's gonna take me a second to process it, so maybe we can come back. And I would love to spend, if we have just a minute, when we're done with the things that you wanna talk about, but just explaining again the pieces that are in parentheses.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, so this 75K, some have reported that it was asked by the select board to increase our highway budget, or from the highway crew to increase that 75K. As for the specific reason, I could not necessarily get to the bottom of. So I wanted to ask you guys is if, during the budgeting process, do you remember asking to increase the budget 75K, and what we were really looking for there.
Was there a specific line item that we were talking about that?
That's kind of where we're left up to a little bit of interpretation. If we're looking at the town report, you'll see budget for FY 2025, the total highway is going to be 75K surplus. Usually what's pretty normal for this is like a zeroing out.
Can you tell me what page you're on?
What was that?
What page?
What's that, 32?
Page 13.
So it seems like there was a collection of different things from the highways that we tried to increase for, that created that variance.
I found in my research today, I did come across a note where towards the end of setting the tax rate, we had, I think, 25,000 that we added for more culverts.
Okay.
Is that what you remember, 25,000? And then an extra 10,000 for gravel. That doesn't come near 75, but
I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember adding a bunch to the
for culverts, yeah,
because of
sure.
the flooding
Yeah.
and all that we're going through.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was some of that, but certainly not 75,000,
Okay.
If I could add,
please.
Yeah.
Please.
what was approved by the voters at the town meeting was 75,000 less than what ended up in the highway fund. So it sure looks like, I don't know if it was culverts or something else that came up, but it looks like it went in the wrong fund.
I see.
So,
But it shows up somewhere in this, in the highway budget.
yeah, as
Yes.
revenue, not a specific expense that you're gonna use it for, but as revenue. And, you know, when you do a budget, when you get to the bottom of it, the budgeted revenue and the budgeted expense should be zero.
Right.
And it's suddenly here's the 75,000 that jumps out.
So with that 75K moved to the general fund, when I spoke with Nimrick about it, that brought our negative deficit that you also see in the town report or the town budget, the negative 52K in current tax revenue under general fund, that brought that up to 22K, which makes more sense as a revenue being a positive and not a negative.
Right there.
So I wanted to clarify that, you know, moving that 75K into the general fund is okay, and there wasn't anything very specific with the highway fund that the select board recalled that it needed to stay in the highway fund.
So that was budgeted to be a surplus at the end of the year, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I think maybe also when we spoke with Nemrick, that was their recommendation.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to be there.
I mean, I see that, like, see this? So in our expenses, yeah.
So,
That would be your recommendation as auditors, and that's Nimrick's recommendation, and
and it's pretty
Lily's.
spelled out the town report.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the number that the voters approved,
Yeah,
and then you look at the number that the town put into the highway fund, it's 75,000 more than what the voters
Okay.
in taxes.
okay.
What did the
that
voters
makes
approve
sense.
for general fund?
Well, it's on page 18, they approved, so what the voters approved for the general fund was what went into the budget for the general fund, so that carried properly.
Because that 75,000 was actually added after town meeting, when we were getting ready to set the tax rate.
No, I don't think so.
It was in the
It was in the book here that showed that it was
Right, it was in the town report, had to have happened.
Maybe the previous year that happened, but
That could have happened, well,
Yeah.
I don't remember anything that big, but. This municipal tax rate that was figured here on page 34 was 0.673. So if we ended up with 0.858, that's quite a difference.
there's a note in the select board report that we used a surplus to reduce the tax rate for the coming year. So perhaps we should have done that.
Oh. No, the governor does it all the time.
I would like to say, even without the 75K in the highway fund, we're still sitting really nicely for the highway fund. We're still pretty on budget and set. Yes.
So with the latest documentation from the state of Vermont, when that gets signed and submitted back to them, I would expect in 2 weeks we would have over $80,000 going into wherever it goes, Lily, when it comes from the state to you. So that'll be $80,812 in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's essentially reimbursement.
Pardon me?
That's essentially FEMA money that's
That's
reimbursement.
correct,
Yes.
Yeah.
And that-
The last of it, right?
Yeah, that's not tied to
Okay.
any mitigation projects, that just goes into general fund maybe, I don't know where it goes.
That will, if you look, where is that? If you look at the due to, due from, that we all have more in the back.
Of your report?
Yep,
Yeah.
I can find mine, let's see. Let's see how quickly it takes to get through this report. You'll see at the very end, negative, yep, here it is, negative 71K, that's where that 80K, I believe, is going to go.
Lily, which page are you on?
Due to, due from, it's
Oh, yeah.
closer to the back. Sorry, with the extra reports, it really is pretty hefty. I second guessed it, but kept it in anyways.
No, I think
Great.
it's helpful. I just can't find the page we're looking for.
So, this,
It could be at the very last page.
Very, very last.
Here it is.
so that negative 71,679 at the bottom of the FEMA Fund 19, that's gonna be paid back and then
Yes.
some, right?
I'll just look on with you.
The little
I
extra.
can't find it.
So that's not that's already accounted for, so that's not necessarily gonna reduce our deficit. This
Yeah, it will.
It will.
Yeah,
Well,
it's money that we've already spent it and they're paying us back. So,
in
right?
terms
Okay.
of actual cash on hand, we will be okay.
Yeah.
It will be totally fine. Making sure that we're balanced going into the next fiscal year and we're raising the amount of taxes we need to is kind of more the focus of what we're gonna be looking
Got
at.
it,
And,
got it.
you know, making sure
Okay.
that the balance sheet is as correct as possible.
So, just for my clarification, the budget that we put together for the highway, that bottom number is what we all agreed to?
Yeah.
And what happened is that 75,000 got put into the wrong account? Is that what's on here?
John, you wanna,
So basically, yes. I mean, if you look at what the town approved and what the budget was put together, an extra 75,000 was put into the highway fund. And then we look at down at the very bottom, and there it is, it stands out, there's $75,000, not part of the budget.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I mean, where did that 75,000 come from?
Don't know.
I mean, was it a state payment? Was it a FEMA payment? Was it something
So
outside of?
when we collect when we collect our taxes, right, they all go into one account. And then out of that account, we transfer money, or we cut checks to the, to state, to the education system, and to the highway. So when we cut that check, move that money to the highway,
Got
we
it.
moved 75K more than what we were supposed to be moving. And then what was remaining in that account is what's left over and considered what the current tax revenue is for the general fund.
Okay.
Does that clear it up a
Yeah,
bit for
so
you?
it's not really a budgeting error, it's just a money placement error.
Right, yeah, sounds
Right.
like,
And Lily, just to clarify, like, you could see in that transaction that there was supposed to be a certain amount of money and that it was that amount plus 75,000 that was
Yes.
transferred? Okay.
Yeah, and I think best practice, you know, in the town report, if the voters vote on a number, then that is the number that we should use. In this budget for this town report, that we just approved, the voters approved the expenditures, which gives us a little bit more flexibility on how we raise the money.
well, really, I've always felt, and I wasn't always agreed with, but that we don't need to be setting the tax rate in the town report because it's always gonna change. And the thing is that I'd never thought about it because nobody notices. You know, they don't say, you said in the town report it was gonna be 50 cents and now it's 60 cents. Nobody ever noticed, so I let it go, but I still think we don't need to have that chart that shows, that ends up with a budget, a tax rate.
I think it is important to try and be as transparent as possible, though, in these
Yeah,
reports,
yeah,
whether
but,
that's,
well,
you
what
know,
the voters
part of
approve is the budget, the spending. They don't approve the income, they approve the spending, so. Now, as far as Alfie goes, do you have a copy of this new stuff?
Yeah.
So this is the same budget you're working with, I assume so. Yeah.
So, just to kind of move this along, do you think it, I would be in favor of moving that, taking the recommendation from John and Lily to move that 75,000 back to the general fund from the highway budget. Is that something that we need to have a motion and we need to vote on that to do? Or is it an accounting?
so.
It's an accounting move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's important you know about it, so
Yeah.
we check it. But
Great.
and so glad you found it, you figured it out.
it makes our, general fund definitely look less alarming, which is great,
Yep.
yeah.
Is that the general consensus of the board to do that?
Looks
Great.
good.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you. I've got another money question. I don't know if either of you can answer. But, have you gotten any bills from the lawyer who did the delinquent tax sales?
Yes.
So she's charged, so that's being paid out of the general fund?
From my
I mean, that was what Brandy's concern was, that the new lawyers were charging everything to the town, and since we didn't have any tax sales going ahead, so they could be charged. I just wondered whether that falls back on the town.
It should
Right,
show,
payers.
those bills are in the warrant.
Oh,
And it
okay.
should show the account that it came out of.
Oh, okay.
If I pulled the report correctly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll look for it when it's in there. Thank you.
And then Chris, I think you said you had a couple questions?
Yeah, just to basically how to read this document. So if we looked at like page 1 of your new report, your on the balance sheet report, the shaded area as we kind of go down. So current tax revenue, when we kind of move across to the variance of 10,000 or more, that just means we haven't collected all of our taxes, correct?
So, no.
Okay.
You know, John, I think I might ask you to explain this one. I think you might have a better explanation for it than me.
So it means that we've collected 209,000 less than what we budgeted.
Got it. Got it.
We're probably not gonna collect anymore.
Got it.
Because the tax period's over.
Got it.
So there was a change made in 2024 in terms of how we handled delinquent tax budgeting. And if you look at the next line down, this column shows 10,000 more that's either unfavorable or favorable. And you can see that delinquent tax collections are quite a bit higher than budget, 83,000. So there's probably some mixing in those two lines.
Got it.
So at the end of the day, we still collected about 125,000 less than we had hoped to for the general fund.
Got it.
So this, current tax revenue and delinquent tax revenue, if you add those together, that would be the amount that was billed for taxes?
So some of that changed in 2024.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's when she started doing the delinquent taxes separately, right?
And Willie talking with Nemrick and looking at a lot of what other towns, about 25 other towns do, most of them don't budget for delinquent tax revenue now.
They just budgets are, we're gonna collect everything and then we don't.
We, according to our tax book report for municipal, we billed for 232K as stated in the
Really?
actual, or the
No, that
budget
can't be.
under current tax revenue.
Oh, but, okay, but that's not the amount that was billed.
Got it.
That was the amount that was billed, yes.
No, that can't be right. How can that be?
Well, in 2024, we billed for 201. So it's not that,
I don't think I fully understand, Lily. So if we build, this is like the whole town, everybody that owes property taxes, the total of all of those taxes should have been $232,205, but we only got 22,000? I guess I'm not understanding.
$230,000 for everybody in Woodbury, that isn't.
It doesn't, it
No,
seems
it's
really
not right.
low.
Yeah, that's why-
So,
that's why-
yeah.
This is for the, just the municipal. So we also have the homestead education, non-stone homestead education, the highway and the municipal.
Okay.
that's
So
true.
if we're just looking at the municipal budget, the general fund budget,
Okay.
only 232
got it.
for, from the taxes will remain in the general fund.
Okay, gotcha. But we still only got a very small portion of that.
Yes, so what you're seeing here, is, okay, let me start from the beginning. There's a couple of reasons as to why, this number may look smaller. So after the tax period is up, the due date is set 60 days, plus I think Randy said an additional 20 days people have to pay. After that time period, any taxes that are collected will go into the delinquent tax revenue. So even though it looks like we didn't collect any or a very small amount of current tax revenue, some of it is just because we collected it past that due date.
Got it. Okay.
And, oh goodness, there was one more thing that I wanted to add here. And also, you know, the education tax, and when we vote on the highway as well, those funds, you know, especially the education tax, that absolutely needs to be paid, regardless of if we've made a bunch of, or all the money that we need to make with tax revenue. So regardless of that, we do have to pay that education fund, which means that if we didn't collect as much as we wanted to, the general fund, potentially the highway fund, could be hit because we have to pay that in full, yeah. Does that make sense?
It does.
Interesting quirk of town government that the general fund kind of acts as the general contractor.
Yeah.
All the others are the subcontractors, they get paid first.
Yeah.
And, you know, in discussion with Nemrick, it may make sense to set up kind of a separate municipal fund that pays everybody, including the general fund, as opposed to the general fund kind of getting what's left over. That's one of the reasons that number looks the way it does.
Okay. Well, good work. It seems like that was pretty complicated
Oh,
work.
I explained it well enough. I've trying to figure it all out myself and then explaining it.
There'll probably be some more questions in the future.
Lily, I have one more question. I'm
Yes.
sorry to hold this up. Just looking at the accounts, checking account, money market account. What is the ISC sweep?
Yes, so the ISC sweep, it's essentially a type of way to insure our money and make interest on our money. So we have our money market account, which we make interest off of, but only up to 250K is FDIC insured. So the ICS sweep is essentially a disbursement of our money in a way that helps protect it more.
Got it, okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
To the best, yeah, yep.
Unless there's any other questions. Yeah,
One
John.
thing I wouldn't mind adding, so Nemrick provides the software that the town uses. It's New England Municipal Resource Center. They also have terrific expertise that Brandon gets used a lot. Woodbury is now using. They're available to help when a budget's being put together, when the tax rate's being put together. And you know, there's a lot of stuff shifting here. We changed the way we did delinquent taxes. When I looked at the 25 town reports, there are probably 20 different ways to do it. When we had the audit 2022, they told the town to change from a hybrid cash accounting to total cash accounting. So you have a little bit of a variable there. And then you got FEMA money coming in. So, you know, a lot, and a transition of treasurers. So it seems like it would make sense for the town, especially this year, where it's really important to get the tax rate right, to take advantage of that expertise. And they're really sharp, and they know our town, they know the account and our finances. So.
And did they send a representative to come, or how does it all happen?
It's the treasurer talking to them.
Yeah, it can be remote. I know Brandy's mentioned when I first started, she wanted one of the representatives to come out to Woodbury. We ended up doing it over the phone, but I think there's potential for somebody
I
being
mean,
in
we pay them
person.
like $10,000 a year to support that system, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sounds
you're
like a really
suggesting
good idea.
that she should just use them more, or you should?
Well, the town should.
Good answer.
Okay.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, John. All right. Unless there's anything else, maybe we go to the status of the buyouts. Mr. John Gordon.
Sure, so, just to catch everybody up to speed, we had a meeting with the store a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, I believe I sent an email after that meeting. A number of to-dos came out of that meeting, they were happy, they were content with the result of the title search, so they put that concern to bed.
Good.
So they're ready for us to move on to the next steps. Like I said, there's several to-dos. They want basically the name of our lawyer, who would be doing the property transfer. And they need to get some covenants written in the deed. So that's one to-do. Who's our lawyer for the property transfers? We need to order up appraisals of both properties, so we need to procure and order up appraisals. The appraisals need to be as of, July 9th? What was the day before the flood? Basically, what was the property value the day before the flood? For the, what's it, 3554, is that the Shattuck property? Anyway, it's like 3664, 3665, anyway. The Shattuck property, it's the whole property, house and land, as you would normally do in an appraisal. For the old fire station, it's just the building, because as per the title search, town owns the land under the building. So we need to do it, order it, pay for it, and they'll reimburse.
So, did you say we have to arrange for the appraisals also?
Yes.
That's gonna take forever.
Well, that's what we need to get moving on.
What?
That's what we need to get moving, because
Yeah,
who knows how
yeah.
long it will take. But we do the legwork, the program resources. the program will reimburse the title search as well, so hang on to that.
Yeah, that was, it was only like $800, yeah. So, but yeah, okay.
Pricier than that, I think.
Still, money that the taxpayer doesn't have to pay. So-
Oh, yeah,
So-
definitely.
But, so I don't have the details on how we submit those claims yet, but hang on to that stuff on basically all this cost. That came up and they said that they have a program to pay for the appraisal, or the title search we have to do. They'll pay for the appraisers, but we have to actually do the legwork to procure it and get it done.
So we'll have to talk about who to get for an attorney for that.
Yeah, so name of the lawyer, get the process going for the appraisals of both properties, full property on the Shattuck property, just the building on the fire station, and only the building, or yeah, and July 9th, the day before, property value as of the day before. But one comment that was made on the call was that there's lots of appraisers that are used to this concept of what's the property value as of the day before the flood,
Yeah.
so that shouldn't be
Okay.
unexpected. Couple of complications, of course, the main complication is the water for the town hall. All that water equipment is in the old fire station, and that will have to be moved. It probably makes sense to do the move when all the excavation's done, because it's not gonna be tore open anyway. That's considered construction, the actual move of that, so it's, I'm a little unclear on this, because what they said was, get us a quote on what it'll take to move that, considering it all being opened up, and they may pay for it under the project. I don't know how you go around saying, well, it's construction, so it's outside of the scope, but hey, you know, give us a quote anyway, may include it. I don't know, but
So where's the wellhead?
it's in the building, the well's in the building, isn't it? Right next
No,
to it?
you do realize it also goes to the post office.
Well, then we'll have to go and have that, a quote for,
So is the wellhead in the building?
I think the wellhead's out behind the old fire station down here.
is it
I
it
think.
outside? In any case, the equipment is in the fire station.
Yeah. The
And the
pump and all
equipment will
that.
need to be moved into some other building,
Oh, yeah.
and obviously, whatever relevant lines need to be hooked back up. But,
What is the equipment? It's like
You
a
know,
pressure tank? It's
pressure
a-
tank,
Yeah,
so
yeah, okay.
Pumps and stuff like that.
So-
yeah.
Whatever it's moved into will need to be heated.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so Paul had suggested putting it into the post office building.
Cause that
Yeah.
is heated all the time, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's, you know, your guys' decision, obviously, where it gets moved, but state suggested getting a quote for having it moved. Not having it moved immediately, because obviously it makes more sense to have it moved whenever it's tore up. But get a sense of, get a quote for having it moved, because they may lump it into the project. Pay for it right at that. So those are the 4 to-dos that they wanted, next steps, name of the attorney, the appraisers, and a quote on the moving of the unit.
Unfortunately, our sewage holding tank is on the town property. So as long as they notice that it's there and they don't try to dig it up, it should be fine.
That'll be a detail when we get to that point.
Yeah.
Along with that, though, this wasn't part of the conversation, but, the, fire station has transfer switch, and the power comes down from the generator, runs down, goes from the annex over to the fire station, runs to the front of the fire station, there's a transfer switch there. There's been, my understanding was there's been some conversation in the past about whether the town may wanna go and put that on the town hall and have the ability to run the town hall. Because it's right there, it doesn't look like it'd take a whole lot to move it. And of
Move
course-
what? The what? The transfer switch?
So the fire station
For the generator.
is hooked up to the generator.
Right.
And the transfer switch for that is on the northeast corner of the fire station building. So there's a line that comes off the annex building, goes over to the fire station building, and then there's a electrical line that runs up to the front corner where the panel is.
Oh,
So of course, if that building goes away, then that all goes away. And okay, maybe the town doesn't care, but if you wanna have, like, if you wanted to do something and say have emergency power to the town hall, probably now's the
Yeah,
time.
because that's the emergency backup for if something happens at the school.
right.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, frankly, it doesn't look like it would take that much, because you could pull it off the one bill and stick it on the other and wire your transfer switch in the town hall. But that was not part of really the conversation that we had with the state, because they consider that construction. And that's also not really inside the scope, but if the town wants to do it, I think now's the time.
The new fire department has a generator.
Yes. Boxes.
So that one is gonna serve the school. I don't know, does that make any sense to have it serve the town hall too? I mean, if it's easy, I guess it's okay, but,
Well, it would allow the town hall to be used in an emergency.
yeah, right, but we already got the school.
Yeah, but what happens if
new
something
fire
happens to the
department.
school?
Okay,
Where's your
all right,
emergency?
fine. We can have 3 options, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's just something the town might wanna look into. Like I
Sure.
said, it doesn't look to me like I'm not an electrician, so don't take my word for it. But in conversations that I have with Paul, I'm looking at it myself. It literally, you got, it's running on the, most of it's running on the exterior of the fire station now. And then you've got the boxes on are on the, like I said, the northeast corner of the station. I think the boxes in the town hall are on the southeast corner, right? Aren't they just
Yes.
inside?
I think so,
So
yeah.
basically you'd be taking the stuff off,
Yeah, yeah.
putting it over, doing a little wiring, and
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't be a huge deal. But, you know, that's going away, so I think that could be, I don't know if there's any reason to wait on that necessarily, because the fire station doesn't need emergency power anymore. So, anyway, that's sort of, separate. Like I said, the 4 things are attorney, appraisals, 2 appraisals, and then a quote on the water.
John, just to clarify, this is all stuff you need us to get started on? Like, you want us to pick the lawyer, you want us to set up the appraisals, or do you just want us to give you the go-ahead?
I really don't. I want you to take it all, of course. But the town has to procure the appraisers.
Okay.
And, you know, as far as who has to do that or gets to do that, I guess that's better negotiable.
Did they have recommendations for appraisers?
They did not give me.
Okay.
We can find them.
It's not something that I have much experience with, you know, mostly a warm body.
Sometimes state people kind of shy from recommending appraisers because it could be like a preference thing. So
Yeah, conflict of interest.
I've asked that question in the past. And,
The only thing they said is follow the recommended process on procuring yada yada. They basically spouted some boilerplate at me. Kind of like the bold things on the little letter you're talking about.
So like if it's gonna be more than $8,000, we have to go out to bid? I don't think it'll.
Yeah, I think it's whatever the normal rules are that they spouted, you know, you can't go, you shouldn't go and, you know, give some sweetheart deal to somebody's cousin because they, you know, get a kickback or whatever.
Okay.
Do you know if I know they can't make recommendations, but do you know if they might have a list available?
I do not know.
Okay.
You can
We
go to
just have to-
Secretary of State's website and put in appraisers and you'll get a list of them.
Oh, okay. Cool.
In my experience in dealing with folks like that and other things, it's kind of like Mike has said, they tend to be very leery to actually name names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can find someone,
So we had 2 appraisals.
yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
too, but obviously, you know, the difference is simply the one's the full property and the other one is just the building.
Diana, you mentioned that we would need to name an attorney, do we not?
Yeah,
have
we
a
could
town-
talk about that. You wanna talk about that now? We can.
Sure. The town has a town attorney.
Well, we use Tarrant Company for when we need, you know, prosecution and stuff like that. Whether they do real estate, I don't know. When we needed the title search for, that building, I called 3 different places and finally got Sergeant Law Office in Morrisville to take the job.
To do the title search.
Right.
Yeah.
We used to use, Chris Green for all our real estate stuff, but he retired,
Okay.
so. We can either go with Tarrant or try to find somebody else.
But you're not sure that Tarrant does land?
They probably could do it.
Okay.
Montpelier prices.
I just need to give the state the name of the attorney that the town is using for
Okay.
the property transfer.
All right, I'll call them. You think we should just go with them?
Yeah, unless you have a reason that you would, you sound hesitant, but
Well,
I
it's just
don't.
that they'll probably just pass it off to, I don't know. I don't know how they do it. He's not known for doing real estate.
There's a Mickelson out in Hardwick now.
What does that mean?
Mickelson?
Oh, Christina? Yeah, Christina. Pretty busy since Chris retired. Yeah.
And like I said, on the water equipment, tank and whatnot, removing of that, yeah, I really get the feeling like the state has money that they're trying to spend. So they kind of seem to be looking for excuses. I don't know. It's me editorializing, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me to say, well, for them to say, well, construction's outside the scope and this is construction, but you know, give us a quote, see if we can work it in.
So, in your experience, that would be a quote from an excavator and a plumber to do that work, correct?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, you're not, as an excavator in your private business, you're not setting pressure
Not
tanks
really.
and,
Not
Yeah.
unless it's a particular
Yeah.
job. I mean, sometimes I am a plumber,
Yeah.
but I'm not usually an excavator and a plumber at the same time.
right. I'm sure we could call a well company, but I imagine that would be more expensive, maybe not.
No, I think
don't know.
I think it's fairly simple, a regular plumber could do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just moving the pressure, and there might be some excavating involved too.
That's why I wonder what, like,
So if you
There
put,
needs to be the person who-
pressure tank in the post office, you still gotta run a line from the post office to the town hall.
Yep.
yeah.
So that-
But since it's all gonna be dug up anyways,
Right, no, that's
Okay,
definitely
yeah.
the time to do it,
It's time to do it.
but you might have to have a plumber on hand the day that it gets dug.
yeah.
Sometimes as an excavator, I will run the line, and then the plumber just makes the connections on each end. So, you know, that.
And you could, if it gets transferred over to the post office, it would be operational for the post office as soon as they make the transfer, right? It just wouldn't be operational for the other end until there's a new line, right?
I think that's the idea of doing it all at once, so that
Well, yeah,
neither of the two buildings are out of service.
Michael, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, a number of years ago when we were doing some, we had a grant to try to put in different watershed protection things around the village. It was pretty much focused on the village, and we were gonna put something kind of just past the fire station in that green area where between the fire station, the old fire station and the post office. And we were digging, getting ready to dig a test pit, and then it was discovered that there actually is a septic system there. And is that something that we need to consider with the whole water thing? I think it would serve the fire station and the post office, but I'm not definite about that. And that was a surprise to us at that time, because we had planned to
Well, there's
do.
gotta be something out there.
Yeah, so does that just become
You just
dormant?
said that the well is down here by the bridge.
But with
The
the septic
footbridge.
system.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know,
yeah.
but when he said that,
You
the
said
well
you
is,
remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
that's where the wellhead
That's
is
where
down
the-
there by that
All right,
footbridge.
yeah.
But there's gotta be some, a leach field somewhere in that green area. You know?
Maybe.
There is in there somewhere, because I always have a fight with the company that plows the post office, cause he
Yeah.
wants to plow off that whole section, I said, you can't do that.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the
Yeah.
town hall could get rid of its holding tank and actually use that. If the
Eh,
fire station is involved. I don't know, that's,
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know if that should be a part of the consideration with this whole water system stuff, or,
Well, I think a licensed plumber would recommend or force you to put a pressure tank in each building. I don't think they're gonna want to,
Sure.
that happened in the old days, but I don't think they're gonna let water go to one building and then go to another.
Yep.
For contamination purposes. So they may force us to have 2 lines going from the well to each house.
Yeah, that
For
makes
each
more
building,
sense.
and then each building has its own pressure tank. I think that's how they
Makes
would
sense.
operate that.
And the water at the town hall gets shut off in the winter anyways, because it's not heated, so it could be the same kind of situation. We
is
might
it the
need,
little back room where the furnaces, isn't that heated year round?
no.
No,
Well,
okay.
yeah, but,
Whatever, he comes off the furnace at what, 55 degrees?
yeah,
Okay,
but they still cut off the water, right? They- yeah.
yeah.
And when it really gets cold out, Paul will flip the switch for me so it doesn't freeze.
All right, John, so you need an attorney name that, Sandy, sounds like you are willing to call.
Around here?
Yep. And then we need to find 2 appraisers,
Or one appraiser for 2 jobs.
Yeah.
1 appraiser for 2 jobs.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. And then we need to find, I guess, a plumber to come up with a quote for,
And an excavator.
I think it's an excavator too, right? I don't know who that person is, but yeah,
It might be whoever takes the building down. I mean, most likely whoever takes the building down will have an excavator there.
yeah,
They would have to,
Right?
yeah,
they got all
right.
the everything.
So it might
You
be.
gotta
But that-
take out the concrete and everything.
There's a tank as well,
Uh-oh.
oil tank.
In ground? Ooh.
Exciting.
And then, Liz, do you think it makes sense? Do you think Tim would just look at to see what it would take to move that transfer switch? Not.
I just don't want to look like I'm feeding him work. I'm
No, no, no,
sure
no.
he'd be happy to.
He could just tell us whether like is it going to be
Big deal or
$10,
not.
is it
Oh,
a big
yeah.
deal or is it
Yeah.
like
Yep.
that's quick and easy and
Yes.
we can mostly we're just looking for information.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, an actual educated opinion instead of off the cuff. And so any other questions that you want me to route towards them, shoot them my way, whichever. And the only other thing that I was gonna mention, separate topic, but fire department's planning an open house for July 19th. Police station. So since I was coming here, I offered to pass the information along.
Imagine there'll be some sort of posting that goes out from Perform or something when we get closer.
I'm pretty sure that Rheta Dunlap and Arlene Ceruti and probably my wife as well, and whoever else wants to join the coalition are willing to do an organization and outreach. But I figured I would offer to mention it here, so.
Thank you.
Looking forward to, have it open and have people prepared to walk and talk and show and explain and whatever else.
Thanks.
So, makes a big difference when you can go in there and actually do truck check without and walk by somebody without
you know,
Two people can walk between a vehicle at one time.
Oh. So you're on the fire department too?
Technically, yes, but not really.
Oh, okay.
So technically, I am a member of I'm a non-voting member of the fire
Oh,
department. It's a new class of person.
Uh-huh.
New class of member that they added recently, so people who wanna try to help out but don't wanna have all the obligations and expectations come join just to do whatever fit in. So I basically I've gone to the business meetings and I do truck check and just try to, cause you know, if you're actual member, you're expected to do more stuff and.
But if you're a non-voting member, they'll still probably try to get you to do
Oh, yeah.
whatever they can.
Yeah, but I can go and just say shrug and, you know.
Appreciate it, John, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It sounds like we need to send out the RFP for the sand contract. Is that
Yes.
true?
Oh, I didn't print that out. Shoot.
I have.
Thank you.
And I think I did not print out a whole one because Alfie, I feel like you probably.
Alfie should have one.
Wanna look at it?
Information there that I have no idea about.
I think I looked at it, but we need to discuss whether we think we can do another 3-year contract, because I'm not sure why we went with 3 years. You weren't probably here, Alfie, but I know Dana Gravel said he wouldn't do another 3-year contract,
Would not.
so,
I don't like it either.
you know? So you think 1 year?
I do.
We probably did this, we just probably wanted to save this hassle.
What's the advantage of doing a 1 year versus a 3 year?
Well, for me, it's you have more control over what sand you get, the quality of sand you get.
Oh, okay.
The last winter, we got sand inside of that 3-year contract. That was not quality sand,
Got it.
in my opinion. So if you're in a contract, you're forced to buy that sand. You take what you get.
Sure.
If you're going one year at a time, you can choose that sand. You can agree on the type of sand you're getting, and that's what you're gonna get. So that's why I didn't like the 3-year, and why I would like to not go with the 3-year.
Okay,
I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure Dana's reasoning, but it might be similar, not quite similar, but it might be more of a reason that he's tied into a certain amount of sand.
I think he's probably more tied into a price, like all of his trucking went up,
Right.
all of his diesel went up. So
All
that
his prices
sand,
also
for
go up.
him, it's less attractive because that sand he could charge a lot more for it than he did.
Right.
Which is why I asked, because it seems like it would be beneficial to us to secure a 3-year contract. Because every year, the sand is gonna be more expensive than it is this year, but if it's a quality issue that you think is important, then take your advice and do a 1 year.
yeah, that's a good reason not to go for the 3 years.
Yeah, I kind of felt stuck, because we were in a contract, we were forced to buy that year's sand with them. I couldn't say, I don't like this sand, I wanna buy it somewhere else, because we were in a contract.
It does say in this here that the town reserves the right to test the product at any time and take appropriate action if the product is deemed deficient, including cancellation of the contract or refusal of any delivery. So it looks like if we really wanted to, we would have an out.
Do we don't pay for the whole 3 years?
No.
We pay, yeah.
We get it.
I think we pay half, right?
Might be a moot point, he may,
I
if he doesn't wanna do
think we used to
it.
pay it half ahead.
They're pretty flexible, I think that if we only get a half of the allotment, then we only pay for half of the
Yeah.
allotment.
So did you get the rest of it?
I did get the rest of
Okay.
the 3-year contract, we had 600 yards left
Okay.
over from last fall.
Yeah,
And that's now in our pile,
okay.
yeah. So we're ready to start from scratch and start over with a new contract.
And does this indicate a 3-year or 1 year?
This does say 3,
Yeah.
but we could change it.
That's easy enough to change.
Yeah.
So I have, while we're on this, I have one other question, it's just a question. Why do we have to go to bid with sand?
Good question.
To begin with, I buy $20,000 worth of gravel and I don't have to put it to bid. So I'm just wondering if there's a reason why we have to go to bid on sand.
I think it's because it's over $8,000. That's the only thing I can think of.
But then why don't we do that for gravel?
Right. but
Right.
Because for gravel, they can go different places and get different grades of this and that, and they don't buy it all from one place and they don't stockpile it. Am I right? No.
I mean, we do buy from different gravel
Yeah.
banks, but sometimes we buy 3,000 yards of gravel from the
Yeah.
same company.
Yeah.
Same as we do for sand.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering why that is. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I think the contract is safe for everybody, but I'm just wondering, why do we need that? Why can't I go shop for sand, find the sand that I like, and purchase it from that company?
Which, I mean, next week there's gonna be an RFP on the agenda for gravel.
Well, maybe, but at least it'll be consistent, right? I mean, I just feel like this one stands out.
Yeah.
It's why sand and not gravel? I buy $10,000 worth of chloride every year. I'm not putting that to bid. There's 3 or 4 companies that
Are
provide
there?
chloride. Why does sand stand out? I just don't
Is
understand
it
that.
because we were in a 3-year contract or wanted to do a long-term contract? Is that?
No,
that
no, I think this is the first time we did a 3-year contract, but
No,
we've
this
done
started
other,
back in FY19.
that was a 3-year contract?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, but there were also previous years, I mean, that's not the first year we did a sand contract, right?
Right, 17 was a 1 year, 18 was a 1 year, then 19 was 3, so then 22 was a 3, and then this one that we're in now.
Okay,
Yeah, we went to a 3-year contract, just to kind of not have to do it every year.
Right.
basically. I was on the select board, I
Yeah, I
think
was
Skip
on
was
too.
too.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have a rough idea of like where you would like to, I mean, can you invite folks to to look at an RFP?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You can send them a
So,
copy.
I mean,
Make sure they
we
see
can
it.
almost do the same thing and still, I'm not sure why we have an RFP for sand, but I don't wanna get rid of it and find out there's a
I
good
think it's
reason.
probably, I think it's probably,
Nobody knows about, you know?
yeah, I think it's probably the $8,000 part, but,
So if you know where you'd like it sent, or where, you know, you'd like people to visit the RFP, then
Yeah,
we
so with that said, it also binds you to the lowest price.
I don't think it does though, does it? We don't have, or does our RFP?
no, there is a quality issue.
Quality,
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
There was one time when I was on the select board that we didn't go with the lowest bidder. We
Yeah.
went with
Yeah.
and Skip took sand down to the
Took
state
sand down.
garage,
To Berlin,
It's sifted, yeah.
buckets of sand to have it analyzed.
yeah,
So, we didn't take the lowest price bidder,
Right. Mm-hmm.
even though his sand was equal to the sand that we gave the bid to, which was a higher price. And that was because of personality issues. Yeah, so,
So it sounds like quality can be, of the sand can
you
be a
can take it
factor.
down to Berlin, they're happy to test it for you.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a process to get a real sieve analysis, but it can be done.
Yeah, I can remember taking 3 5-gallon buckets of dirt down there.
so that was probably after the bids came in and you were trying to decide which to go with?
We asked for samples.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah, and they gladly gave us samples. Samples came back. The select board at that time, and not a unanimous decision, went with the highest bidder with the equal quality of that sand.
Yeah, and we also have to decide things like the location, how far
Yeah, we did
Or our
that too.
truck's gonna have to go to get
yeah.
a better type or a lower price or something like that, with those
We had it
things.
down to the 10th of a mile.
I remember that.
And to be quite honest, there's not a lot of sand suppliers left.
No,
That's, you know, so we're not gonna have a lot to choose from. So that's why I don't wanna rock the boat too much, but I just was asking, why are we going out to bid for one and not the other? But, like I said, I have no problem with gravel construction who we've been in contract with for the last 3 years. I just kinda felt stuck last year, because we kinda got the bottom of the barrel sort of, or they were in a different vein. I didn't see any stone in it, I ended up having to add stone to it. And so I would like to have more control over that than I had last year.
Sure. Alpha, do you mind taking a quick look? Is that first, like, we'll change this if we can to a 1-year contract for what you're saying, but is 4,000 cubic yards what we would be placing a bid for?
I think that, I think if we, because we have the 600 yards that we've just replaced, I think we could drop that to 3 for, if we're gonna do 1 year. And I don't think that will hold you to that. Like if you put it to bid for 4,000, if we only need 3,000, I don't think they're gonna dock us for that or
Got it.
charge us.
Okay,
So it might be wise to leave it at
Sure.
the 4,
sounds great.
yeah.
so how much is a yard of sand? I mean, we're not gonna go under $8,000, I don't suppose.
You're not gonna go under.
Okay.
No. No.
Lily, do you mind, you put this together, right?
Yep.
Do you mind making those changes?
Yes.
To a 1-year contract for winter sand, and I guess it would read the town of Woodbury soliciting bids for 4,000 cubic yards of winter sand.
Yep, I
Period.
can change that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
have
Right,
two
you
more
said
questions.
3,000, right?
I think Alfie said in the end, he said keep it at 4,000,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Oh, you said keep it at 4,000?
Keep it at
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
You did 2 more questions?
Yeah, for the select board, just confirming the date that the bid is due. It's July 1st right now, and then we could review it on July 14th. I figured that was supposed to be a town office meeting day, but maybe if there's going to be people who want to represent their company, maybe potentially more people, we should have it at the library. And this is more or less just like a notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that enough time for folks? I imagine they have their sand number set, right? It's not gonna take them long to put this together.
Yeah, what was the
Yeah.
date?
July 1st, and then reviewing on July 14th.
So it doesn't need
2
to
weeks.
be
You're
2
not gonna
weeks.
Get it out for a couple of days, will you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
I could probably get it out tomorrow.
So you could make it July 8th and then
3 weeks, to have it out for 3 weeks.
a week later we would,
Okay.
wait, our next meeting would be, we're not gonna meet until the 14th of July. So, yeah, you could make it anytime that previous week, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
and when we say get it out, how are you getting it out?
That is going to be connecting with Robin and Brandy on what they've done in the past, and then if you have recommendations, I would love to,
Right, so you would send it to each individual supplier to give them the opportunity to bid.
The ones that we know about, but we'll also have to
Yeah.
put it in the paper,
yes. Yep.
in the News and Citizen.
Great, yeah, so I can add a few names to the list, maybe.
Yes,
Okay.
please do. Send an email to me.
Yeah, okay.
The cemetery commission just did a RFP and, front porch forum, and then on the town website with a banner.
Oh, they do? Oh, you don't really, okay.
I think it's still
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any local sand suppliers, but you never know. Might be one in Callis.
And then do any specifications need to be changed either?
I'm assuming those specs came from the state recommendations?
It came from the previous contract.
The previous RFP, right?
Yeah, previous RFP.
If they're using it,
So the 3/8 size, I would like to bump that to at least half inch.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when we have an ice storm, the bigger the stone, the more traction you got. And it doesn't, the 3/8 will kind of wash off to the side with the heavy rain, the half inch doesn't so much. So I would bump that up to half inch.
So what are these other, number 4, number 100, what do those mean?
Those are sieve numbers,
Yeah,
like they have a stack of screens. It's like a
Okay.
dish with a screen in the bottom,
Oh.
and they stack up. And these are the numbers, number 4, number 100.
okay.
So they put those together and whatever sand goes through each
Okay,
one,
I'm
that's the
Reading it too.
the sieve analysis.
Okay. By weight, passing square mesh sieves. Okay. Interesting.
And then Alfie also included dates, delivery option dates and pickup dates. If that's something that you can do as well. Or if we can get rid of those, I can get rid of them too. You know, what's,
Well, usually we truck our own,
okay,
so the dates doesn't really matter. I
Okay.
mean, obviously we want the sand available when we wanna get it. So if these guys are bidding, they should be able to promise us the sand when we want it. So maybe if we said August to
okay.
December maybe?
So do you wanna get rid of that third paragraph there?
The delivery option, no.
Yeah, the bid should specify 2 prices, price if delivered by the vendor. Or
Where's
the
that?
the third paragraph.
You know, we could leave it in there if they have an outstanding deal for the trucking.
Okay,
It might be
Alright.
worth it for us to change,
sounds good.
Okay,
especially with, or if we're in, right, and we got a lot of work this summer, so if somebody wants to truck our sand at a decent rate, it might be advantageous for us.
Okay.
so the delivery options, we just have, we don't need those 3 years, just 1 year, right? And-
Yep.
Or picked up at the pit.
Yeah. I would probably have the same delivery options, August through you said December, correct? I think I wrote
Yeah.
September. Through December for both.
Not that I wanna haul sand in December, but.
If something happens.
Right.
Alright, thanks Lily.
Okay.
Thanks Alfie.
Thank you.
We can kind of roll right into the road commissioner's report and updates.
I don't have a whole lot. We've been grading a lot, we've started some ditching projects. We did a little bit of, since the last time we did that, we did a little bit of work on some last year's grants to get them satisfied for this, for them to send us the money. It was just some hydro seeding we needed to do and some other stone around the culverts that. So we've done that, some of that money has come in, as Lily spoke about earlier. And now we're moving on to summer projects. In between grading, we're ditching, we're on the county road right now, there was a bunch of water sitting alongside the road, causing potholes and whatnot, so we're gonna clean those ditches and make that happen before we regrade it. We are waiting for the mitigation projects, which we are probably gonna talk about tonight. That's gonna be a fair amount of work. I have an excavator coming next week, a rental. Sort of anticipation that we'll be ready for that, or with these projects, or at least some of them we get started with. Yeah, I haven't heard many complaints about the roads, but if anybody else has, I'd love to hear about them.
There been a lot of damage by people like doing damage on purpose with their trucks and,
I did fix a few spots today.
Yes.
With the grader, they were doing donuts and, you know, another spot, another thing I noticed is on Valley Lake, just above your house, the beavers, that beaver
Oh, yeah.
dam went out
yeah,
and it came over the road a little bit. Luckily that culvert, received most of it. But it did damage the road a little bit and I just graded it over, it wasn't a big deal. But that's something to keep on our radar, because that's a lot of water and that culvert's not always gonna take it. I don't know much about the beaver patrol here, I know Michael's very much on it, but, I don't know how to mitigate that or how we can mitigate that as far as not, I mean, the beaver dam's gone now, can we keep it that way, would be my preference.
It looks like the beaver might be repairing, I drove by there this morning,
already?
Yeah.
yeah.
The dam is like out in the wetland, right? It's not,
Well,
Something-
it runs from the side of the road.
oh, okay,
Over into the ridge kind of behind your house. It's a very small pond, it's mostly, most of their building material is mud, which is why it does kind of give out. This is the second time it's given out in the last 2 or 3 years. One of the floods it gave out also, I can't remember when. So, I could keep it notched to keep the water lower, we could put in a baffle, or you could trap the beaver, you know, there's all kinds of choices. I've never really dealt with it much because the road crew hasn't worried about it and property owners haven't, no one's contacted me about that being a problem.
Yeah, I don't
So
know,
I just leave it alone.
do we know whose land it is?
I don't know whose land it is. Yeah.
yeah, the people,
Which side of
live
the
in,
road?
what?
Which side of the road?
That
North
side,
side.
Diana's side?
yeah.
Yeah.
The people, from Connecticut, have been there for, I mean, they've owned it for a long, long, long time. They have a trailer that's all broken down. You can't even see it
Must be
anymore,
up in the
really.
woods, Yeah.
Yeah. So that they wouldn't, yeah, they don't care. I'm probably the closest, but I don't go up there, so I don't get scared by washing my house out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, it's more our infrastructure. I mean,
Oh, plus I've got that marvelous ditch right across the front of my property.
right. I mean, this time
The water doesn't flow towards your
Take
house,
the
you don't
water,
have to worry.
but maybe next time it won't. You've got a gully across that road.
It's, fortunately, the water is running across the road as opposed to running down the road.
Sideways, yeah.
That tends to, from my observation, that tends to cause less damage than if it's running down the middle of the road. I'm not sure why. But-
Is that one of the culverts that you routinely clean out or no?
No, I have not touched that area at all, and I would imagine that culvert is probably very old and very small. But it would cost quite a bit, I think, to replace the culvert, to handle the water if the pond did give out. There's only been a pond there for maybe 4 or 5 years, I don't ever remember one being there before. So, but, you know, the younger beaver are always looking for a new home when they have to move on, so.
James Hanley,
James Hamlin?
is that the name? I feel like there's
What
a
was that?
pond there a long time
Hamlin,
ago.
yeah, Hamlin.
It probably was, yeah.
20 years ago when I
Mhm,
lived there,
mhm.
right up there when I first moved up here.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a pond there now.
Anyway, not something that I'm trying to force action on, I just wanna make everybody aware that, you know, we kinda skated the damage of what could have been a disaster. You know, like I said, maybe next time we won't be so lucky and we'll be repairing the road. But the water's gone now, it's like completely gone.
Oh,
And a bigger culvert wouldn't really help because they'd just block that too,
Well,
right?
the problem is that the dam is way out away from the culvert, like it's 30 feet between the mouth of the culvert and their dam.
Uh-huh.
So, and what happened, they backed up water all behind it, around their dam. And then somehow it let go, and all that water came down to our culvert. And our culvert couldn't take it, and it came over the road.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm only wondering, because I know we've talked about replacing culverts with bigger culverts.
Yep.
Would that be a solution, or do you think that wouldn't help in this case?
It would help, yes, a bigger culvert is probably necessary anyways, even if there wasn't a beaver dam. So we could add that to our list of mitigation projects maybe, if it's not too late.
Never too late.
So yes, a bigger culvert will help,
Okay.
but the more long-term would be do something with the beavers, if we so desire. And to me, if the landowner is okay with it, that's what we need, that's all we need.
You okay with what?
With
The way it is, or?
getting rid of the beaver.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The only problem with that is that it's never long-term because other beaver
Well,
kind of will
Yeah.
move in down the
So you'd
road.
have to like go onto that property and down over the bank and to notch it or something?
I would just go out onto the dam a little bit and notch it. Yeah. That's what I do in other places.
Oh,
Yeah, if I need to.
Yeah, anyway, I don't wanna take any more time.
Okay,
on it.
thank you.
It's just to make you aware, that's all.
Can I go back quickly to the sand RFP?
Sure.
And this, just to take a second. Does this require a signature from the select board
yes,
to go out?
yeah.
So
Oh.
if Lily makes the edit,
Offering.
just an offering, you don't need my signature on there? Okay. I was just gonna suggest, if you do, and then the rest of the board will authorize me to sign it as per the edits that Lily, we direct Lily, make her happy to go down and sign it. So, let me know
Okay.
if we need it. Sorry, Alfie, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
So the next on the agenda, I guess, would be the meeting with Jaren Bork.
And I do have printouts of his summary. I think I sent it to you all, but it was sometime this morning, I think, so.
Yeah,
If you, let's see, there's 3 for the select board, there's 2, there's another one, there's the. Skip, I thought you covered it. If you haven't figured it out already. Robin or Lily, or anyone else here, I have other copies if you wanted to look at them.
Yes, please.
Okay, so there's 2 and 1 more. Did you want one, John?
Sure.
Okay.
I didn't print it out because it was going on so long, but this didn't come out that way, so you got it all on one page.
Put it on one page, yeah.
So all these sites, 1 through 7, are sites that we chose to find out if we need a permit, streams alterations permit or not. So we have a mixture. Number 1, we do not need a permit. Number 2, we do not need a permit. Number 3, we do not need a permit. Well, there's number 4, we do need some engineering, but it's out of his jurisdiction. Number 4 is.
It's out of,
Jaren's.
Jaren Borg's jurisdiction because it's standing water above the pipe. It's not a street, it's
Oh, okay.
something that I just learned, it was like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a pond that drains into one of our culverts,
oh,
which I wanna replace.
oh,
And he said because it's standing water, it's not in his jurisdiction. However,
Okay.
it is his jurisdiction at the outlet of that culvert, because then it comes into a stream.
whoa,
So I'm like, okay, do I need a permit or not? So I think he wants to be aware of it, and he did recommend that we have some engineering there, or an engineer look at it and recommend.
Is that at the end of Valley Lake Road?
It's right by your
That's
house.
right by your house,
Oh,
right in front of your house where the beaver's father.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
so it's that's the one that says it's recommended that the town reach out to Tyler Brown,
Yes.
Beaver Management Consultant.
Yep. And then we go on to number 5, which is the county road, near Diego's. It's a big culvert that's flooded the last, 2 years in a row. That definitely needs a permit and design. So when he says we need design, he will not give a permit without the design.
So the design means hiring an engineer?
Yes, yes, which slows everything down. Hopefully, we can get Nate, which he promised, to help us out with that. Nate Seacard. Number 6, there's a small culvert, that crosses the road, and we don't need a permit there either. He said just change it. And then the next one, number 7, is near the trailhead, and that's, as he put it, an interesting site. And that's the one where if it's not raining, it's not running, because the water that comes off the stream above, the waterfalls, it just seeps into the ground. It's the weirdest thing.
It goes into the ledge and actually comes out in Greenwood Lake, on the other side of the road.
Really?
But the stream that this culvert is affected by, it dries up. So that's why it's kind of interesting to him. But he does want us to do design work there.
He does?
He does.
So right there on the, right there.
Where the falls are,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wild. In the spring it'll run, but then you'll get, like now, well today, I don't know, but most of the time when I go by there, when I run by there, you'll hear the falls, and there'll be no water at the road. And if you were to walk just that little bit, at some point you'll start walking in water. It's just the water, depending on how fast the water, it'll just make it further out. But it just soaks into the rock, and it has to be running pretty good for you to actually see it at the road. Like the falls have gotta be running pretty hard to actually see it at the road. It's pretty wild because if you were to start at the falls, just in a short order, the water will just get less and less since there's no water.
There's some kind of chasm in the ledge
Yeah.
that water will go into when it's when it's flowing at a heavy rate. It goes into that, I would assume also, but more, it can't handle all of it, like a small culvert. And in this summer, it is a perennial stream, but it does dry up. Doesn't dry up, it just goes into the earth through the ledge and then comes out into Greenwood Lake.
The falls will be running all year round, but the water at the road just,
There's not a lot of water, it's all
it'll be dry. It's probably just because there's, like you said, there's a ravine there, just got filled in with rocks coming down the hill. But yeah, it's pretty odd. But the whole area is odd because of all the swarf from the glaciers, so the ground's weird.
Elfie, number 1, did you say we did or we did not need a permit for that one?
Don't need a new permit.
Oh, okay.
He's just gonna renew the existing permit,
Okay,
so we do not need to go through the public permit process.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
For the county road trailhead?
No, the first one,
The Buck Lake one, the one that I had the permit for earlier.
Right.
yeah, that's all set, we're all set.
Yeah, that's the permit that we were talking about at the very beginning.
Yes.
And so we had a permit that ended at the end of this past year, and he just renewed it.
Okay,
So where does the H&H come in?
Well, we got H&H studies already ordered for the 2,
For the Diego site and for the county road trailhead.
yes. And so I don't know if Michael, you've got any more insight on that, but we don't really know when.
You don't know when, you have to fill out a form now, a request form now, which we did. And I haven't heard anything since I submitted those request forms.
So the H&H study gets done, and then Nate takes that to do his engineering work.
Actually, that was another thing that I learned the other day from Jaren, is that Nate can actually do the H&H study.
Oh, really?
So if we get him on board, we may not have to wait for the state to do the H&H.
Oh, so if he could do
So
both
he
the
can do
design and the,
H&H. The H&H is really what dictates the size of the culvert.
yeah.
So if he can do all that, he can, design the culvert and we're moving forward.
Okay.
So I think a call to Nate is very crucial right now.
And is that call coming from one of us, or?
I could do that, or Alpha
Okay,
could do that, yeah, we
that's
could
fine
do
with me.
that.
I
Okay,
Great,
Michael
thank
will
you.
call.
does it, but,
Perfect.
Or, I know Diana's been communicating with Nate, but, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, you're better at, more of the
Okay.
technical stuff.
So I just want to bring up that there was one other site that I had mentioned in the past. The Buck Lake Brook Cabot Road project that was with the Emergency Watershed Protection Program. We have talked, or I've mentioned that we could use some of this mitigation money to pay the town's match for that. And of course, then what has happened with the money for the Emergency Watershed Protection Program, which is overseen by USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, the funds that they had procured or for their program were frozen by the new federal administration. And they had submitted a waiver back in March requesting that money be unfrozen so that they could use it. And now I did call, I emailed Bob Thompson, who is a person from the USDA that I've been communicating with about this. And, they still don't, that money is still frozen. It's probably going to be gone. They're looking, they do have another alternative funding, but they don't know whether or not they'll get that funding. And also their staff of engineers has been whittled down by Doge.
Oh,
So anything that if they ever do get the money and do the project, it will probably take a while for that to happen. So I think we should probably just forget about that project.
Do you want me to take it off the list then, Michael?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted other people's thoughts on that. I mean, if that were to wash out in the future, we probably, as it has in the past, when it did happen in the past, we got a V-Trans emergency grant very quickly to fix the problem. So if it happens again, we could do that. This money might come available sometime down the road, and maybe we'd still have some of this money left over, or maybe we just figure out a different way to come up with the town match.
Is that 25,000?
It was about 25,000, yeah. The USDA would do all of the design work, and then they would pay for 3/4 of the mitigation work, the actual implementation, and the town would have to come up with 25% of the implementation, which they estimated at about $25,000.
We could reserve that.
If the select board is willing to do that, we could do that, yeah.
You mean reserve it in the funds?
how about for the whole project? Is there enough to do the whole?
It would take a pretty good bite out of it, yeah.
It's 100.
Between the engineering and the,
Yeah,
I
it was
can't
a-
remember what the total cost was. Actually, I think, I can't remember what it was, but it was a couple $100,000.
No, I guess the choice would be whether that's more important than the culverts, or equally important, or not as important. And, yeah, so, I'm not gonna make that choice.
Me neither. That's a hard one.
I guess go ahead, Skip.
I would hold off and see if the funding comes from some other source and reserve the funds for the town's match.
I was gonna say the
Based
same
upon
thing.
what Michael knows right now. Reserve like $25,000, maybe a line item in that mitigation fund for the Cannon Road, Buck Lake Brook USDA project. I can send you an email.
Yeah, yeah.
So, does these ones where no permit is required, does that mean you can start doing them? No, now we're getting into your section.
Well, that was one of my asks that
Yeah.
the select board
Oh.
considered tonight, would be to authorize Alfie to move forward with this work. The ones that can be done.
I would say
Yeah, I
yes.
was
Yeah.
wondering if we wanted to prioritize them in any way, but.
That would
Rely on your,
Yeah, really.
which ones you think are
Yeah,
priorities,
The one
so.
in front of my house sounds pretty important. I agree with Chris.
well, like the Buck Lake, that's very simple. I mean, that's just pulling the
Oh,
out
yeah.
and adding new stone in, shaping it to match what the state did.
I gotta say, when the first time FEMA people came for that store project years and years ago, we're walking out there, it was not winter, well, I think there was some snow on the ground, but one of the ladies said, oh, I think we're walking on a failed septic system. So be careful when you're out there with your loader.
How
There's something
how will
in
we
there.
access that stream to do that work now?
He thinks he can get through there.
By the lake, I mean, by the park,
By the park?
off of Cabot Road, I'll just walk across there and it'll make a mess. We'll have, that'll be part of the project, is cleaning it up,
Don't kill that apple tree,
reseeding it.
okay?
Yeah, no, it will be tight, there's
Yeah.
some nice fruit trees there, which I will.
Well, those trees are, yeah.
Going back and forth out there.
Fox running around it.
Oh,
Fun night.
Oh, yeah.
little fox.
Ah,
They pregnant?
It looks pretty healthy.
Yeah, you guys didn't look too odd, just.
Wait for public comment.
So, in light of the time,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could just say, the board could say, yes, you guys should go for that on those projects that don't need permitting, and that we would defer to your opinion, Alfie, about which ones are most important to start with, or
Yeah.
whatever makes most sense. You've got a day here and you're like, oh yeah, it's only gonna take a day, we're gonna do that. But yeah,
That's great.
unless anybody else disagrees, I would say go for it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
All right. I'm gonna move this along a little bit. Michael, sorry.
Okay.
We have
Sorry.
just one more thing under this. It had to do with tires and green up
Okay.
day.
Oh.
And then we can get onto your report unless you
Okay.
wanted to.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do this really quickly. So, on Green Up Day, there was 2 drop-offs of tires by a local resident. I'm not gonna name any names. I don't wanna, in public do that. If you want more information about, we know who did it. The school recorded images with their surveillance camera of there were 2 drop-offs, one Friday evening, after the metal dumpster was put in the schoolyard, and then on Saturday, early evening after Green Up Day, the dumpster was still there, and there was another batch of tires that came. There were roughly 40 or 50 tires that were dropped off. It cost the town $5 a piece to pay for those tires to be, so basically, those 2 dumps cost the town about $300.
Did the second dump also go into the metal dumpster and have to be taken out?
No, fortunately, they were very nice to not throw them in the dumpster, but to place them beside it.
And you don't think it was someone who had picked him up out of the side of the road, right?
We don't know.
A lot of
No, I
tires.
don't.
Okay.
It may, I don't know the intent, whether it's the same, I'll call it the same family. There were 2 different vehicles, but they come from the same place. And whether they thought that, oh, it's Green Up Day and I know the town takes tires, so I'll bring some tires up. They didn't come when the 9 to 1, the open hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were trying to get away with something or if they just were trying to do a good deed. They didn't dump them up off the quarry road or, where tires usually get dumped. So the Conservation Commission, we talked about this. We're gonna try to, next year, make sure that there's pretty clear language there that people don't bring stuff outside of open hours. And to me, if the select board wants to, I think we should at least send the family a letter from the town just saying that what they did was not the right thing to do, and let them know how much it costs the town to cover them for getting rid of a lot of tires. You could send them a bill if you want, but I don't think you'd ever get anything from it without hiring lawyers. So, if you want to talk about it more in an executive session at some point, I could give you more details. But, and I don't know, Alfie, I talked to Alfie about it. Paul Council has also, I'm not sure what Alfie would suggest. But, these tires probably would have been somewhere on the side of a Woodbury road otherwise. And that is part of Green Up Day where we do go and pick up other dumps of tires. Happens every year. And then, the town covers that, and the Green Up Day money that we get covers it too.
And did I hear you say or somebody that Alfie had a place to take them, all the ones that came in, legally or otherwise?
No, legally.
Oh, but you took those ones too,
I took them all. They
Yeah.
all go into a truck and they all go to the same place.
which
I remember
is,
I think 3 years ago, the person that we would, I can't say contract with, but there was a person
using-
that would come and get the tires. They tried to pull a fast one on the town. And again, those surveillance cameras kind of supported the town's case for not paying for those tires. That basically the guy who was hauling the tires, he brought a truck half loaded with tires and then claimed that the truck was empty.
oh,
And fortunately, the surveillance camera showed that nobody came during the time the truck was parked there. and prepared.
interesting,
Yeah.
no,
So that
that's
was
bad.
something else that Paul dealt with a few years ago. So the tires can become a bit of a problem.
Yeah, well, it's good that there's a place that they can go.
What do you guys think about sending a letter to the family, just telling them the cost and that in the future, please don't bring items outside of open hours?
Yeah,
Okay, I can draft one
I
and,
think letting them know that we know
thank you.
Yeah, that'd be a good
is very
idea,
important,
yeah.
Yeah.
because they may think twice about it next time.
so Michael, I'll get the information from you
Okay.
later
Sure.
and draft a letter.
Okay.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
Skip, it is all yours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So on the handout I gave everyone tonight, I'd like to start with item number 1, FEMA personnel. So FEMA is in, at least the folks I deal with, is in a state of disarray. They reassigned the program delivery manager I've been working with, Danielle and I have been working with, to a person in District 1, which is located in Washington. He was reassigned, his replacement was from Washington, and I worked with him for the past 2 weeks. Now he's gone, and I was contacted by yet another PDMG this morning. So I don't know if they've been part of the Doge slashing, but it wouldn't surprise me. So the good thing about being contacted by this new PDMG is that Danielle and I figured out our administrative costs for Project 4810, and we sent them a spreadsheet and our time sheets And this woman created a project which is 100% funded, it's obligated, so there'll be no cost to the town for Danielle and I, time for this 4810. And similarly for the 2023 disaster, there'll be no cost to the town for any of our time.
Really? Okay.
Great. Thanks for doing it.
Well, yeah, that was fun.
So you should be done with this pretty soon, as soon as that
Yeah.
money gets here?
And as soon as the money gets here, then there's, the last in the FEMA process is project closeout. So as you can imagine, there's several forms to sign project closeout.
Oh,
And once project closeout is done, I'll send Lily or give Lily a little memory stick with all my documents on it. And I have an external hard drive where I store all my stuff too. I don't like to put anything up in the cloud really. So it'll be in the town office, it'll be on a hard drive I have. And I don't know if the town office has a hard drive, an external hard drive. If they do, you should probably store it there as well. Okay, so,
we do, those are those little boxes of skip digs, little case looking things.
Yes,
You use yours as much as I do?
so
mine doesn't work.
I'm going to skip forward to the 7:25 PM part of the
You all right?
agenda.
Whoa,
So I received an email from the state. I had been bugging the state regarding this project 4810 because all the money had been obligated, I don't know, 2 months ago, and they hadn't acted on anything. So with that, on June 5th, Sarah Pryor from state of Vermont sent 7 documents to us, actually to me, one of which was a sub-grant agreement that has to be signed, financial report form that has to be signed. And the new form is called Subrecipient Executive Compensation Form, which has to be initialed and signed. So with that, I didn't feel comfortable, just signing it myself without the select board's authorization. So the select board did authorize me to sign for the previous disaster, 4720. So if it's your desire that I sign these documents,
I'd like to make a motion that we have Skip Lindsey continue to sign for the state as our POC. Is that right?
okay, but if you do, I can get these forms to them tomorrow. And the $80,000 will be sent to them within the next 3 weeks.
All right, so there's a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion about having, authorizing Skip to sign as our FEMA POC?
Point of contact. Yeah.
Thank you. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Fine.
All right. Thanks, Skip.
Oh, you're welcome.
Motion passes.
So the next up is an RFP for root replacement. So we've gone through the mitigation work for the culverts, and we've given Alfie the go-ahead. So I sent out, did some work on this RFP, and it was pretty lengthy. It was 28 pages, and that's probably a little too long for the RFP. So I did it in Microsoft Word, and I did it formatted the page so you could see my comments and my questions on it. So of the 28 pages, one of my questions was I can certainly pare down some of these requests. One of the requests is that the contractor be bonded. I don't think we need a bonded contractor. None of the other RFPs we've sent out had that requirement. So I don't know if you guys had a time to look at that RFP.
We did the last,
I saw your video.
yeah.
And,
We didn't finish it, but
I finished it.
I finished it too.
Oh.
Oh,
So,
good, because I left halfway through.
Do you wanna get back together on it at our next working meeting, or what do you think?
it probably makes most sense to give our edits to Skip, or I don't, or I guess if you wanna send us the word.
Why don't you send it to me, because this is formatted strangely, so
Yeah.
if you edit it yourself, you might get
I think
frustrated.
they have it in
We edited it by hand.
hard copy,
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
just give it to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll give them both. And a lot of it is just eliminating language.
Right.
Is all we, is a lot of what we did was just eliminated
Because
language.
a lot of it, you really didn't need. But you may need it for the town, thank you,
Yeah.
for the
Thank
town
you.
hall. Because the town hall is on the National Register of Historic Places. So that opens up, you to much more scrutiny on what you do to that building. So I'm still researching that to see if there's any specific type of roof that has to go on that.
Well, we were told when we had an expert, the local expert, Jan Lewandowski, came and looked everything over back in the days of ARPA. And he said as long as we don't have to make it look like it looked in 1852, but the roofing should be the same as what's on there now. So it's just corrugated metal, not to make it a standing steam or anything like that.
Okay, so it has to be a metal roof.
Yeah,
Was that the way it was originally, a metal roof?
no, that's not the point. He said that it just has to be replaced by what's there now. The same as what's there now, not trying to go back to wood shingles and all that.
Okay,
That's what we were told, and he's an expert, so,
yeah, well,
but,
see, the FEMA mitigation information that I have regarding roofs does mention metal roofs, but it gives no specification of hurricane-proof metal roofs. What it does give is specifications for asphalt shingles
yeah.
for hurricane proofing. And what's spec'd out in the RFP is shingles that can withstand 116 mile an hour winds. So that's a spec that has to be followed and adhered to when we award that RFP in the contract to complete the project. So I'll have to do some more digging to see if metal roofs are in fact part of FEMA mitigation.
Well, we've already got money set aside for that, so,
Well, if you
But
have
it's
money
just-
set aside for that, you can use.
oh, I realize it could be used, I realize that, but, you know,
Yeah.
it can't be done the way we need to do it according to the
Who's your
historic.
contact? May I talk to that person?
I'm sorry?
Who's that contact?
Oh, Jan Lewandowski, he's in Stannard. I don't remember the name of his business, but he's got some kind of a name.
Yeah, he has
Yeah,
Is
quite a
he,
reputation.
yeah,
is he a part of the state or is?
no, he's
So-
a historic preservation consultant.
Does the state have, the state has one?
Well, the state has people
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Yeah, but we got, yeah. He's the best according to our two local consultants. One was Liz Pritchett and the other one was the Mary Jo Llewellyn,
Okay.
who were both, have worked for the state in the historic preservation, and they
So can I reach out,
recommended him, what?
can I reach out to you for his contact information?
Oh, sure,
Okay. I'll send you an email.
okay.
Because it was listed in, I think, March of 1995 as, an historic place. It was placed on the register then. And back then, if it was an asphalt roof, then we could put shingles on it. So there's a big description, if you go into the National Register, it's like 10 pages long of what the building was. It's pretty interesting. But anyhow, I'll reach out to you for
Okay,
Jan's number.
yep. I do believe we got a report, so
There's a report.
I have
a
it
copy
somewhere,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take a look at this and redo this based on your edits. I'll take
Okay,
care of it.
although if we're talking about possibly a shingle roof, it's probably no longer relevant because all my edits were to do with it being a metal roof.
Me-
So,
me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
that could change things.
well, the specifications, if you folks gave specifications for a metal roof,
Uh-huh.
I'll run that by FEMA mitigation first and see if your specifications will meet their criteria for hurricane proof.
Did you create specifications
did-
for the metal?
I did very, like, roughly. I didn't expect to be just giving them to you to be sending off to FEMA, so they're not, I didn't do as good of a job as I would have,
I'll ask FEMA for what is the specification.
For the metal
Okay.
roof,
Yeah,
yeah.
for a metal roof.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that there's like those end pieces on the metal roof that like you don't ever see them in Vermont. Out west, they have these like end caps that fold over onto the fascia
Yeah,
to
okay.
keep lift off.
Right.
So
Yeah.
There might be something like that
Yeah.
we have to add.
It is.
And then it looks like you're looking for authorization to help us create the RFP for those other.
Yeah.
Yes,
Please, thank you.
for
Well,
sure.
There are, you know, there are FEMA specifications for that stuff as well.
Yeah,
So instead of you guys reinventing the wheel, you know, that's all at hand with the stuff I'm looking at.
that's great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So it won't be as long as that, I promise.
That, I mean, that's exactly what I found too. You know, there's not.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can move forward with that?
Please.
Please.
Okay. Basement waterproofing shouldn't be so bad. You know,
What's the basement water, I mean, who designed that, basement waterproofing? Who came up with those ideas?
It's right here. Do you recall, you probably not, you guys are really busy, mitigation ideas
Yeah?
in this handbook I sent out?
Oh, so it's just
So-
standard stuff, not site-specific at all?
Yeah, a resource for reducing risk to natural hazards. And, you know, for building openings, upgrade exterior walls, prevent water intrusion, upgrade exterior floors, strengthen windows for roofs, upgrade roof sheathing, you know, there are all kinds of things here.
So whether you just pick and choose whether or not the specific site warrants it, or?
Well, no, based upon the town offices flooding out.
And water
In
does come
2023,
in,
it only makes sense to waterproof that place
And the town office flooding out?
in 2023.
Yeah. For water coming in through a hole in the foundation,
Yeah, and
which has since been repaired.
there's still some cracks in the bulkhead where it comes in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
some cracks in the foundation.
It didn't flood though.
Right, but it's getting wet.
Cracks in the foundation, like on the front wall,
Yeah.
or?
There's- So anyhow, you know, if you don't want me to do that.
No, I just wonder who's advising, who's deciding that that's, I mean, we got people here who are, you know, contractors, but they, I don't know if they
You would ultimately
do.
decide whether or not you wanted to move forward with waterproofing the basement. If you don't think that's a project that we should spend our mitigation money on, then you don't have to approve it.
Well, it shouldn't be up to me, but I just wonder,
Well, it's up to the select board,
yeah.
you know, if you want to, no, I'm not even gonna get into that, but, you know, it could flood again. It probably will flood again. And if you decide that's not the way you want to go with an RFP, that's fine with me. You know, up to you guys.
I think there's value in keeping water away from that foundation. I think there's value in keeping water away from that foundation.
So you're talking about like a French drain or something out back that's gonna,
That was discussed.
We did talk about that.
Yeah.
Around the back, like specifically around the uphill side of that site, right? Yeah, and that maybe it ties into the storm sewer. There's a storm drain.
sewer.
The
Storm-
state has a storm drain
Yeah,
in the highway.
Yeah.
On the highway, that we could hopefully tap into.
Right.
And put that water into.
Where's that?
Right by the Route 14 where you turn into the town.
Yeah, by the
office.
utility pole,
Yes.
By the what?
utility pole, the telephone pole?
Oh, okay, so it's not like on the other side where people are living,
It's right on the,
okay.
on the same side. You would have to get a permit from the state to look into their stormwater drain, but that's very much doable.
Skip, is that what you're thinking for the RFP? Are you thinking along the lines of French drains for the basement waterproofing? Or,
Well, I would rely on perhaps Alfie for his expertise. And anything that could seal that basement to prevent water from coming in, because one of the mitigation ideas is to prevent water intrusion. So how did it intrude into the basement?
Through a hole in the foundation.
Yeah, or did it come in through the bulkhead?
It did one time,
Yeah,
because
so-
back when before we were telling the road guys not to pile the snow out there, or to move it before spring melt.
And you gotta remember our computer brain is down in the basement now too.
Yeah, but it's up on the wall.
But if it leaks
You know, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's worth pursuing.
And you like the idea of the gutters also?
I think that I've seen gutters work. Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
A seamless gutter.
You're the expert. Will that be done by the roofing person or
Usually
separately?
their own company.
That's what I was gonna say too, yeah.
What?
They're usually their own companies.
Who, the gutters?
Yeah.
Installers?
Yeah.
So we talked about sort of a GC on all this, one person to kind of organize and keep track. Do we have, how far did we get with that?
As, I guess I need a little more clarification on your question. Like,
Well, I just mean like, you've got roofers, you've got an
Right,
excavator, you've
right,
got
right.
drainage,
Right.
you've got another company that's gonna seal the cracks in the foundation.
Right.
You've got, people that are gonna put gutters on.
yeah,
It seems like if we had one person to kind of organize all those moving parts, might be less work for you guys and time in this room.
yeah,
When we're all trying, we've all got different ideas and
Yeah.
if you had one person to kind of oversee that one person could come in and say, this contractor's doing this, that, give
Yeah.
updates that way. I don't know who that person is, it's not me. But somebody. who
Yeah, it would
does
be nice
that.
if we had somebody,
Would that person have to be project manager?
I think,
it could be a project manager.
Yeah, I'm a certified project manager. I could take on that responsibility.
But okay, well,
But I have
Yeah.
no clue about construction, but, project managing a project is,
I kind of think we're talking about two different things, because I think that if we wanted to have a general contractor come in, they would be responsible for all the work. So they would be responsible for hiring the
that's not-
presumably they wouldn't have their own excavator, but the advantage to that is we wouldn't need to do an RFP for every single piece of the puzzle. We would do one RFP for the whole building. And there might be a value to that, and there also might be a drawback. I could see it's like having, it would be possibly hard to find that person, and then all the projects would fall apart. As opposed to independently, like we could at least, maybe we can't find a roofing contractor, but we can find somebody to do the drainage work. But then if we had somebody that was willing to be a project manager, that would be a completely different thing.
Yeah.
The town would still contract independently with all of those, as opposed to contracting with one person to do it all.
okay.
I could see the benefits of both. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know. I have some hesitations towards hiring one GC company to hire subs to do all this. And I guess my biggest hesitation is it's a pretty varied amount of work and they're all really small projects. And I'm just wondering how good the people they get to do are gonna
Yeah,
be
that's a
and
good
how well they're gonna be watched while they're doing the work. And whatever, maybe that isn't a good concern, but it's just something that pops into my head.
Yeah, I wasn't really suggesting hiring a general contractor.
You were
Just
thinking
one-
project manager,
Someone
one
in
of
this
us. Got
group
it.
that
Yeah.
has,
Yep.
that has, a love for the town and the care of doing the right thing to oversee the different contractors.
Yep.
Right? You're gonna hire an excavator, that's one contractor, you're gonna hire a roofer, that's another contractor. Just somebody that can keep that ball rolling. Cause you might be able to get the roof done, but you can't get an excavator. At least something's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think everybody agrees that we should move forward on spending this money in one aspect or another.
Yeah, so if we had more retired contractors here who were,
Well,
weren't
it
all
sounds
burned
like
out.
Skip is volunteering to be that organizer, and
I could manage the project.
And I also would make a case for, and I don't know how this would work, but that's a lot of work, and I feel like you should be compensated for that time too.
Well, I would, well,
Well, he was,
yeah, like,
if it's all done with the FEMA
would have
stuff.
to be defined.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a lot
could-
of work.
I could do a project plan which would encompass the roof, the basement, any excavation work, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And put a timeline assigned to it and task and subtask and who owns it, I can do all that stuff and manage the projects.
And the windows?
Pardon me?
And the windows?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That would make sense.
If you're willing, that's great.
What do you think, Michael?
Go for it.
Okay.
Skip, thank you. It's really kind of you to be willing to do that.
Well, your time could, I mean, this is FEMA mitigation
Right.
money, so your time doing that managing could be paid for by FEMA as well.
Oh,
Should
yeah,
be.
it would be. I
Oh,
wouldn't
great.
charge, I wouldn't take anything out of the general fund, it would all come from the mitigation pot of money.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't cost the town any money.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And it would be just for the project plan. You know, I don't have any expertise in digging holes or installing windows.
Yeah.
Right,
You
but you
wouldn't
could
want
hold,
me to
you
do
could
that.
hold each contractor to his foot to the fire.
Sure,
You could say, you've got this date to do it, to get it done, you agree to it, you gotta get it done.
yeah.
That kind of thing, you're kind of the boss, you're kind of the.
And Liz and I are happy to do like
organizer.
site inspections with you too. Right.
Yeah, because that's, that was one of the questions in there, who's the technical person, who's gonna be like the clerk of the works, you know?
I
And
have
for
an
the excavator.
on my draft of that, but
Can I volunteer, folks, just arbitrarily?
I think so.
For sure.
Yeah, I will.
And you know how to fill out the paperwork and get the money? So it makes sense to have one person do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Skip.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
That's super generous.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Your idea fun is a lot different than mine.
So, let's quickly talk about disaster 4720, and I won't spend hardly 30 seconds on this. Has anyone heard from Nate Seacard about the project start date for this? I haven't seen any emails regarding project start date. He indicated that he had July timeframe to start the project. I haven't heard any.
We're talking about
Highway 24,
24, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great question.
yeah, because once those two projects are done, we can wrap up 4720.
Yeah.
Do we need
Be
to
done with that.
reach out to him? Do you think? Just kind of see where things are at.
I don't know if it's my place to do that.
I want, Michael, you have to speak to him
I
anyways.
do, but I haven't really been involved with him at all on the bridge projects. I know, I don't,
I can reach out to him.
yeah.
Thank you.
See where that's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's at. And,
Be great.
somehow report back.
Thank you.
You just call me.
Just call the project manager. Yeah, I think that if enough time has gone by, we should start knowing what the schedule is like for those two bridges. 'Cause
Okay.
it's- I think each bridge is probably around a month
Right.
worth of time,
Yeah.
so.
And we have, don't let him know that, we have 3 years in which to close this project.
No, we don't want to do that.
No, we don't want him to know that.
Yeah. And also the residents that live on those roads may wanna know, you know,
They'll need to know.
they'll need to know.
And the fire department, EMS will need to know as well.
So I'll take that.
Thank you. Thanks, Alfred.
All right, and lastly, recovery officers' compensation. So right now, FEMA has paid my salary and Danielle's salary, and they'll continue to do so throughout the mitigation process. So I based my compensation on what a volunteer would be paid, and that's $28.14. And that was early on. You know, for like a month and a half, I was just donating my time, and then when I saw what it was going to entail, I said, wait a minute.
Whoa.
I was like, holy crap. So with that, I would ask the board to consider raising my pay to $40 an hour for the mitigation project.
Absolutely.
And you think that that'll be paid for out of the FEMA? Didn't you just say that?
Yes, it will be.
Well, I'm sorry?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
Because we have 851,000 or something in the mitigation project, so, you know, that'll be just like half of 1% or.
Yeah, it's
Do we need to vote
very
on
reasonable.
that, or can we just say yes?
I don't know. It's a great question.
What?
We might as well just make it official, right?
Okay,
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to raise Skip's pay from
$28.14.
from $28.14 to $40 an hour for the FEMA mitigation project work that he's doing.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thanks for doing it, Skip. That's big. That's a big deal. Yeah.
And I think that's all I have.
All right. Well, I don't think we have an executive session this evening.
Well,
Do we, I feel like there was a few things some letters that we needed to talk about, but I don't know.
we didn't know, we did want to talk about the
This,
tire, well, but that's not executive session. That's just with Alfie. But the tire thing, the name and stuff like that, we were gonna do that in executive session.
oh, okay.
Or was I
Okay.
just gonna talk to Lizzie about it?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Well, there was one other thing we were gonna talk about.
All right.
I'm happy to talk about it in executive session if you want.
Either or, it's fine with me.
That's not.
Mostly, like, I don't even really need the name, I'll just drop the letter and then I can either throw a name on it or I guess I would need a name actually, but.
So what?
If
So we
it
can.
is who I think it is, it's probably, the owner's not even there.
So it's not. So if we have an executive session, it's not for personnel reasons.
No, it is, kind of.
Well,
And, okay, but,
More
okay,
like possible litigation or something.
possible litigation.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
Alfie, I give you this. I had to bring this up earlier. So Tim Perry stopped in for public comment, and he lives
Right below Demer's,
Right, yeah.
Karen Demer's.
Yeah, and he said that in the repair of or when you guys were digging it out,
Yep.
that his culvert got damaged. And that he was, that you would stop by and said that if they purchased a new culvert, we would put it in for him?
Correct.
Okay.
And I've been trying to reach out to them, and talk to them for 2 weeks. Stopping nights,
Yeah.
mornings, daytime.
Yeah.
They don't have a phone number listed with the town clerk.
Yep.
I've tried to touch base with them,
Yeah.
and they're either ignoring me or they're just going on vacation.
This guy or this
This
other
guy,
one?
yeah.
Alfie, I got his number, do you want me to write it down on that?
It's on there.
Oh, it is on there?
Yeah,
Okay.
number's on there. So he also,
Apparently they're denying wanting to buy, they're not wanting to buy the culvert.
Right, they want you to replace it because they said it was damaged by the town equipment.
If Okay, it
So that's
is
what-
damaged a little bit, but I can look up from the bottom of it and it is full of gravel. It's full of gravel. If they're claiming this is the cause, I will take a torch and I'll cut that metal off to open that culvert up. And then the culvert will still not work. But the damage that we caused will be taken care of. The culvert is undersized. It was overtaken by gravel and dirt and stuff, debris. So we tried to dig it out to find the upper end to make the water flow. The culvert is full of gravel. So no matter what, you know, the metal is, if this metal is open, it's still not gonna, water's still not gonna go through. If the town was offering to buy my culvert and put it, or I buy the culvert and they put it in, I would take that deal in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That is such a good deal.
And you're
I-
recommending a bigger culvert for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with an 18, it's now a 15.
Yeah. And they would like, in their ideal world, they'd like us to replace a 15 with a 15.
He
And,
didn't mention that.
well, he wants us to replace the culvert, and it's currently a
Yeah.
15, so I don't know that we could
Yeah, that's
upsize
true.
it for,
Yeah.
and I hesitate to have you, everybody stop me if I'm wrong, but I hesitate to have you modify their culvert as a fix for,
It's not gonna make them happy.
it's not gonna make them happy, yeah.
But if you
What does
can't
everybody think?
contact, but if they
Okay,
won't,
so tell me what to do, I'll do whatever you select.
you've been trying to contact,
I'm just trying to help these people
yeah,
and do it on a legal side.
yeah,
And that was the same with the culvert above here,
Yeah.
same thing. I was able to get theirs cleaned out.
oh, good.
What does a new 15-inch culvert cost us?
I just had the quote, it's like $600 maybe.
Right. I would be inclined, since in this, if we're the ones that damaged it, we can offer to replace it with a 15-inch culvert if they'd like to spend the extra money per, you know, the difference in cost to put an 18-inch culvert in.
We already know they're not gonna do that.
Well, at least we can make that recommendation and that offer.
Which would be what, another $100 or the difference between a 15 and an 18?
Yeah, so around $100.
Yeah, so,
I mean, I can buy black plastic, which is much cheaper, 15. You're probably closer to 300. So that'll save the town a little bit of money. We still have to take, the town's excavator was sitting there for a week or more, trying to get an answer for them.
Really?
While the machine was there, I wanted to get an answer. Why they didn't just talk to me and say, look, we don't wanna pay for a culvert. Then I could have, one, moved the excavator onto another project, and two, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. But they decided not to deal straight with me. I was very kind to her when I was trying to flush her culvert out, and I tried to explain to her the ups and downs of it all. And apparently, he's got a different opinion. I have not been able to have a conversation with him. And that's why he came in today.
It's not a big deal. I guess I would be curious what you guys think. If it's town damaged the culvert, I'm
and
inclined.
the damage was like the dipped a part of it, or?
Yeah,
You can see
Yeah, I
it,
did-
crushed the end of it.
Yeah,
did it happen this time, or did it happen the last 10 times that the culvert's been plugged?
yeah,
But
yeah.
honestly, I'll do whatever the
Yeah,
board wants.
I know, we'll just,
So I would.
This is a culvert, it's supposed to be round.
I would,
Sometimes
my
the
tendency would be
teeth
to agree with
hits
you,
it
but the
and
only
bends the
thing
culvert in.
I would wanna double check first is,
Okay.
what's the situation we did down the road? I just wanna make sure we're not giving more in one than we are
that
in another.
culvert we didn't damage.
We didn't damage it?
No, and so
Okay.
we offered, because it's undersized, and
Okay.
because we had to repair the stone wall near it, that
Okay.
if they wanted us to, we offered.
Yeah.
If we wanted, they could buy the culvert and we would put in a newer, bigger
Okay.
one for them.
But they still had
Kinda
to,
apples
I couldn't
and
remember the
oranges. Yeah.
specifics, I just didn't want it to be,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
have the first people
Making-
responded to your offer to replace the culvert that
They
they
did not
didn't?
respond for a long time. Finally, I just went and tried to try to get this whole thing behind us. I went and flushed their culvert out. I was able to get theirs clean
Okay,
with, I don't know, 5 tanks of water.
yeah,
Better part of a day we spent trying to flush that
geez,
culvert
oh,
to try to put this behind us. We fixed after we got the culvert flowing properly, we fixed the stone wall.
That fixed stone
They
wall.
seemed to be happy.
Thank you, appreciate it.
She sent me a thank you message and that's the end of that.
Yeah,
And I'm just trying to do the same equally to the neighbors
yeah,
who don't get along, as I understand, so.
And I explained to him,
Dynamic here,
yeah,
too.
I explained to him that we had recently decided on a policy that if somebody has their driveway culvert, which is their responsibility, and wants it to be replaced, that the town would do that for,
well, no, that.
if they pay for
isn't
the
quite accurate.
culvert.
I don't,
That's not quite accurate, we're not doing that on a regular basis,
I thought we said.
no.
I guess the other option, the other caveat was that if the problem with the culvert was because of runoff from the town road.
In
Although
this
it's all
case, it
runoff
was,
from the town
yeah.
road.
Most driveways, most driveway culverts accept town water.
Yeah,
Water
true.
comes off the town road
Yeah.
and it runs into our ditch and it goes across into their culvert.
Okay,
So it's our water,
yeah,
but the town cannot buy everybody's culvert
right.
and maintain everybody's culvert.
No.
They just can't.
Yeah.
So that's why we came up with a deal for the residents. They buy the culvert, we'll install it. Then we know that the culvert is installed correctly, it's the right
Right.
size. We can have that conversation with the residents who don't do this line of work every day.
Right. But correct me if I'm wrong, we decided that that was in specific instances where we felt, because the culvert above our culvert was plugged with ice, which caused this, right? And so simply having an undersized culvert does not qualify you for us to do all the culvert work in town if you buy a culvert, correct? That was a lot of
Right.
culvert in
No,
the,
no, I think that it has to be somebody's discretion as to
Yeah.
whether whether the town offers that deal
Yeah.
to a resident or not.
Okay.
and in the case of the Cabot Road, it seemed clear that at least some of the work that we had done uphill wasn't working and caused that wash out of their
Right.
driveway,
It was
which is
called
why we offered it to
froze.
this kid, yeah,
Right.
okay. Just want to be clear so we don't
So-
have like
I
a,
just wish people could cooperate. I'm trying to cooperate. I'm giving everything I've got to cooperate with these people,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're just
For sure.
not. So I'm happy, if you tell me to go put a culvert in there, it'll happen.
okay,
But it's gonna take, obviously, it's gonna take away from the other projects, the hot projects that are coming up.
yeah.
But I can try to fit that in before the big excavator comes.
I think we should, in this case, if, you know, just because there was damage done.
Do you
Yeah.
think we should replace the culvert at the town's expense?
I do, in this particular case, not in every case.
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah. I think it's too bad that they won't respond to the offer to, well, I guess he did say he didn't think he should have to pay for it because the town crunched his edges there a little bit. And we did say when we talked about that whole thing, that if people start to take advantage of it, we'll have to reconsider.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to,
Yeah, that's one of my fears here is that if we do this, then everybody that has a culvert that intersects a road is gonna say, you did it on Cabot Road, why aren't you doing mine?
right.
Well, in
I
this
think the
case-
difference here though is, you know, I know you tried to make
I
it
can
right,
fix this
but
culvert, I can fix our damage. With a half an hour with a torch, I can fix the damage that we caused.
Yeah.
It's still plugged with dirt though.
Yeah, and I would say, that would be, if I was the owner of that culvert, I would say, yeah, great, just cut that thing off. But I hesitate to, you know, not, I guess when you, like when one damages something, you gotta return it to its original condition. And like cutting it off, I don't know, maybe it would be fine. We can offer it to them. If he says no, how about we go that route? We can offer it. What if we torch that end, repair it, and then we, if it doesn't, if he says no, then we replace
But
it.
it's
I
still-
think we need to be done offering, we've offered, I'll change the culvert and it'll go away.
Great,
This whole thing
thank
will
you.
go away.
Do a
Unless
plastic
I
one.
Complain about the gravel I used on the top or something, I don't know.
I know. Yeah,
I gotta put this behind me, it's,
Yeah.
it's a thing of nature. A culvert froze,
Yeah.
water came down the road, it affected both of these culverts.
yeah,
We're not out there trying to smash up people's culverts.
understood. And this is not meant to suggest you did anything wrong. It's just, this is just what we're dealing with. We're just trying
Yeah.
to, as you said, put it behind us, and I think that's probably
Yeah,
the
but if he's
fastest
not
and
willing to
easiest way
pay for it, I think he should get the cheaper culvert. Is that stupid? I mean, is that
No, I think-
short-sighted?
no, we don't get a black culvert, he's getting a black culvert.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So I guess we can do updates and other business off camera. I think we're probably gonna have an executive session for possible litigation.
And
And
How are you doing with your 3 days a week?
Letter and
yeah,
how we're
Working
gonna
out?
If it stops raining.
address what changes we might need to make
Seems to
to
rain on the weekend.
decisions we've already sort of started.
yeah, I
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for 2 reasons, 313A1E and 313A3.
all those in favor?
Aye.